Dave Jack here, Superintendent of Fauquier County Public Schools, with another edition of One Hard Question. This week's hard question actually comes from a PAC meeting at Fauquier High School, and there were some questions raised, and they were directed to me about the testing schedule, testing window, and problems with the testing window as it relates to the 4x4 schedule. And to nutshell it, I think the concern is that there's a feeling that there's a much more condensed instructional window in a 4x4 schedule, and testing occurs, just before holiday break, and it seems like there isn't enough time to cover all of the materials, and I think the quote was, it's difficult to get all the material covered when you have testing that occurs just before or weeks before winter break. Okay, quickly, let me just say this first of all. The idea that there's somewhere out there this perfect high school schedule is not realistic. There's no such thing. Every sort of high school schedule has its drawbacks, and the three most dominant high school schedules are the traditional schedule. Kids take 6 or 7 classes in a day, and for 45 minutes, and then they test at the end of the school year. The other is the AB block schedule, which basically it's a year-long schedule, and it's rotating. So you take your classes, first, third, fifth period classes one day, and then the next day you might take your periods 2, 4, and 6 classes the next day, and that goes all year long. And then of course the third option is the one that we have, which is our 4x4 schedule, which is four classes a day for 90 minutes a class, which really matches kind of the way colleges do it. 4 periods a day, 90 minutes a day, 90 minutes a class for 18 weeks in a semester. So kids get total of 8 credits within that schedule. I make no bones and no apology about the fact that I'm a huge proponent of 4x4 block scheduling. I could talk for a long time about what I see as the advantages of 4x4, but let me address the question, the concern that was raised. With a 4x4 block schedule, students are still receiving the same number in terms of minutes of instructional time as they would in a traditional schedule. There's no difference. The difference is they're getting those minutes in 4 blocks in a day over 90 minutes rather than 45 minutes over a year, a 36-week system. But it's the same minutes. It's the same amount of time. We've always tested, no matter what schedule you follow, you're always going to test a couple of weeks before the end of the term or the school year. That's always the way it is. But if you're in a traditional schedule and you test for the those 36 for the 36-week 2-term 36-week total class, you test at the end of the school year, you're probably going to test a couple weeks before the end of the semester, but the minutes are the same whether if you're in a 4x4 schedule and you test at the end of each semester. The number of minutes in the classroom are the same. So I've never quite understood the argument or the concern that people raise about, well, it's condensed and they just don't have enough time. They have the same amount of time. There's really no difference. And in Fauquier County, we bank at the high school level over 20 days a year, over a dozen each semester. We bank time. In other words, we provide much more instructional time per class than we're required to by the state of Virginia. And since I've been here, we have moved the testing window as far to the end of the semester as is humanly possible, and still accounting for time for expedited retakes. So that's happened in the last couple of years. We've pushed it as far as we can to the end of the semester, so there's more instructional time provided, and we've condensed the instructional the testing weeks from 2 and 3 weeks down to 1 or 2 weeks. So it's changed significantly. But I understand the concern, but I got to tell you, people seem to. We surveyed a couple years ago, teachers anyway. They like the 4x4 schedule. Does it have drawbacks? Sure, it does. They all have drawbacks. If we switch to traditional or an AB, we would hear complaints like I heard from my own children who went to high school in a traditional schedule, and they had, you know, like we did, they have 6 and 7 classes a day, 45 minutes every day, and they were taking AP and dual enrollment, and they always had a ton of homework, a ton of stress, because they were taking all these classes and they were responsible for all these classes. In a 4x4 schedule, they're responsible for 4, and typically what happens is 2 of those 4 are, you know, they're probably going to be core area, English, math, science, whatever. 2 of the 4 will be some core area, and the other will be something like PE, art, drama, an elective, some high interest elective. So they're able to focus more heavily on those 4 classes, and instead of 6 or 7 classes. It's very stressful for students, and something that my wife and I, we always felt badly for our kids. And I'd been principal in a 4x4 school, and I always wished that they were in a school with a 4x4 because it was less stressful. But anyway, that's my soapbox. This is a question that comes up basically every year. But I don't see us changing schedule unless there's some sort of overwhelming groundswell of support for changing the schedule from the high school principals, high school teachers, parents, and I just don't see it. So hope this has been helpful to you, and keep the questions coming. Thank you.